Good morning, Minnesota DFLers, and welcome to the DFL Daily. Richard Carlbaum here, chair of the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party. Great to be with you each and every day, Monday through Friday at 10:45, giving you the message, the action, and the tools to take one more concrete step toward winning big in the 2026 midterm elections this November 3rd. I think it's 75 days away. Before we go into today's topic, 4 things happening today, and 2 to get on your calendar for tomorrow. 1:30 p.m., Senate District 44 is packing supplies for students heading back to school in St. Paul. In Blue Earth County at 4:30 p.m., we have the Working Families Picnic. Bring somebody who's never come to one of those before. We also have one in Eagan coming up as well. At 5:30 p.m., we have a neighborhood ice cream social in Linwood. And in St. Francis, you can join for a Thursday night door knock at 6 p.m. And then finally Friday, it's the Hubbard County DFL Walleye Dinner, yum, yum, at 4 p.m. And the Senate District 27 Phone Bank, important, at 5 p.m. in Zimmerman. All right, that's the calendar for today, and you can find everything at dfl.org/events. All right, we're back with another Q&A episode, so you already know who's joining the call with me. Connor, welcome back to the call.
Yeah, good morning, DFLers. I am in DFL HQ in St. Paul. Here are the questions we have in the queue for you today, Richard. We have what's happening to our counties, more clarity on right to repair that we addressed last time, and one that's more of a gut check on where our party stands in a post-primary moment. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, first one. What has the federal government done to pass costs down to local levels so counties are challenged? What can they do? Reduce services, raise property taxes, anything else?
Great question. This is one of the most undercovered stories in Minnesota politics right now, and I'm glad someone asked this question. Minnesota has a state-supervised, county-administered human services system. In most states, that state runs SNAP. In most states, the state runs SNAP and medical assistance eligibility. Here, your county does that work. Child protection, income maintenance, public health. That's county staff in your local county building doing that work, which means when Republicans in Washington, D.C. shift administrative costs, is what they call it, or penalties onto the state, it doesn't stop at the state capitol. It lands on Stearns County. It lands on Coochin County, right? It lands on your local county. Realistically, there are only a couple options to respond to this policy decision made by Republicans, and none of them are good. They can cut services, which in practice means longer eligibility processing times and thinner child protection caseloads. The things you cut are the things nobody notices until something terrible happens. You can raise the levy. You can raise taxes, right? Minnesota counties don't have general levy limits, so legally they can. Politically, a commissioner who raises property taxes to cover the federal cost shift eats the blame for the decision made 1,200 miles away in Washington. Look, Amy Klobuchar has been consistent for years on the rural cost shift and the county capacity problem, and she does this in cost of living terms rather than abstractions. You should really hear her talk about it. You should do the same when talking about this issue. Be very clear. Republicans in Washington cut funding to Minnesota, and now your local counties have to make tough decisions. Your local county commissioners have to decide, should I raise taxes, cut services, or both? Is that who you want to send back to Washington? That's the one choice you could make. Or you would rather send Peggy Flanagan, Jake Johnson, Matt Little, Doug Chapin, Eric Osberg, or Trina Swanson, alongside our Kelly Morrison, Betty McCollum, and Ilhan Omar to Washington to fight for Minnesotans. That's who we want to send. That's the choice for every Minnesotan this November. We're with you. Republicans are with Trump.
Great. This one is a follow-up on last week. We talked about Keith Ellison's right to repair win against John Deere. Someone wrote in, does this have a chance to generalize to other products for homeowners, citizens across the board?
Yeah, we talked about right to repair last week, and I'm glad to hear people have been thinking about it. Short answer, it's already generalizing, and Minnesota is further ahead than most people here realize. In 2025, Attorney General Keith Ellison joined a lawsuit against John Deere. Minnesota is a named party. Our AG is in that fight. Now, in that settlement, John Deere is required to make their repair resources available to farmers and independent repair providers that are equivalent to those John Deere has made available only to authorized John Deere dealers. On top of all the trust busting wins we've covered on the last Q&A episode, John Deere was also forced to pay $1 million total to Minnesota and other plaintiff states for their legal costs and fees. That's a penalty that should scare other corporations from doing the same to Minnesotans. With Keith Ellison in the Attorney General's office, corporations should know that they can't scam Minnesotans without a fight. You can also look at this in other his other antitrust victories as well. Keith Ellison has taken on corporations to lower the price of eggs to prevent them from artificially raising the price of meat. He took on Ticketmaster for price gouging. I don't think Ron Schutz, his opponent, would be taking on the same corporations that want to increase prices on everything from groceries to concert tickets.
All right. And this last one, again, more of a feeling than a question, but I think one that's top of mind for people. They wrote in, I am worried about a lot of money is going to be spent trying to discredit the left wing of our party. We are not the enemy, Republicans are. Can you please reassure us?
Well, first, you're right about the last part. The Republican Party is the opposition. We need to be unified in this moment, and we are. Angie Craig was quick to rally her supporters behind Peggy Flanagan on election night because they both know Michelle Tafoya stands with Trump, not with us, Minnesotans. So did DFLers in tough primary fights at the congressional and state level. We all see who is hurting Minnesotans and what is at stake if we are not going to be unified. Second, primaries are how a party reconciles itself in public. That's uncomfortable, but it is also the correct venue for it. The alternative to arguing in the primary isn't unity; it's arguing in October, which is a much worse idea. Third, and this is the part I actually want you to hold on to, turnout. The main point of unity is getting our own to turn out for elections. And DFLers overperformed in that regard in the primary. More Minnesotans voted in the 2026 DFL primary than in any party primary in our state's history. Amy Klobuchar got more votes than all of the Republican candidates for governor combined. She got well over 600,000 votes. Lisa Damuth had less than a third of that, under 180,000. Peggy Flanagan, of course, even in a competitive primary, again, more votes than the entire Republican field combined. In fact, Michelle Tafoya got the third most votes of the night behind Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig. Together, and I mean that, all of us together will come out to deliver the largest defeat of a sitting president in the history of Minnesota midterms by voting DFL all the way down the ballot. People are excited and passionate to do what they can to stop Republican harms to Minnesota families. The DFL is united and strong. The GOP is divided and weak, full stop. I also want to say that I continue to say this, we are an absolute Big Ten party. And while some people will try to smear different elements and wings of our party, we are going to remain united as a coalition that can defeat Republicans up and down the ballot. Indeed, that's the only way we're going to maximize victory on November 3rd of this year. All right, folks, that's all we have time for today. Connor, thanks for being on the call once again.
Yeah. Thank you for the audience for leaving your questions. I continue to put them in the chat throughout any episode. I'm collecting them and grabbing them throughout the week, and we'll bring it back next time.
All right. I want you to think about what DFL unity means to you. There's a really good question that we ended with. How does it feel that hundreds of thousands of Minnesotans voted in the DFL primary, many for the first time? What emotions still in you when the primary opponents come together in support of a nominated candidate? What kind of future can you envision when a strong DFL ticket wins in November? Today, we're going to do an event where we're doing a unity event today where we're going to be on one stage with Angie Craig and Peggy Flanagan and Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith, all sending one clear message to Minnesotans. We are absolutely united as a party. Okay. Thanks for being here. Thanks again for voting, and congratulations to all of our DFL candidates. When you see the news on social media later today of that event that's taking place this afternoon, please share it on your social media platforms as much as you can. Let's send a message that DFLers are indeed united going into the November 3rd midterm elections, which are only 75 days away. And we have 57 days until in-person voting, early voting begins as well. September 18th is when people will begin casting their first ballots in the general election here in Minnesota. Let's go win this thing. Thank you, and see you tomorrow.